ready to unlock some serious leadership potential. Today, we're diving deep into Nigel Cumberland's 100 Things Successful Leaders Do.
Oh, a great choice.
He starts with this gem. The 100 lessons in this book are designed to turn you into the type of leader that others will admire and want to learn from too.
Ambitious, right?
It is, and Cumberland's background makes him the perfect guide for this. I mean, from the UN and the World Bank to tech startups.
Even schools.
Yeah, practically every sector you can imagine. He's coached leaders everywhere.
So we're not just getting theory here, right?
Not.
This is like real-world, battle-tested advice.
Exactly.
Our mission today is to distill these 100 lessons into some actionable insights that you can actually use.
Think of it as a cheat sheet
Yeah.
to becoming a leader people actually want to follow.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Let's dive in. The first lesson that really hit me was all about self-awareness.
Yeah.
Cumberland argues that before you even think about leading others, you need to understand yourself.
It's like building a house on solid ground, wouldn't you say? Absolutely, yeah.
He challenges us to examine our motivations. Why are we drawn to leadership in the first place?
Right.
Is it an inner drive to make a difference, or is it more about external pressure, those expectations that maybe are placed upon us?
It's so easy to get caught up in what other people think we should be doing, isn't it?
It really is.
But Cumberland points out that, accepting a leadership role you're not ready for.
Oh, that can be disaster.
It can be a disaster for you and everyone you're supposed to lead.
Yeah. He uses a great analogy, Imagine a pilot trying to fly a plane without the proper training. Lack of self-awareness can lead to some pretty serious consequences.
For sure. Okay, so knowing your motivations, that's like step one.
Right.
But Cumberland doesn't stop there.
No.
He also is a huge advocate for understanding your strengths and weaknesses.
He really digs into this, doesn't
He
he?
does.
Because it's not enough to just know what you're good at, right?
Right.
Successful leaders, they need to be acutely aware of their blind spots as well.
That's where things get a little tricky.
It does.
How do we even know what we don't know?
Right.
Remember him mentioning personality tests and feedback from trusted sources.
It's so valuable, isn't it? Because, think about it, we all have those friends or those colleagues that can be brutally honest with us.
Yes.
The ones who will tell us straight up when we're messing up or when we need to adjust our approach.
Yeah.
Those are the people we need to be listening to.
Absolutely. Cumberland actually suggests something pretty radical, which is to create like a personal board of directors
Oh, interesting.
made up of people you trust
Yeah.
to give you that honest feedback.
I like that. It's like having a personal leadership coach in
Yeah.
your corner, constantly helping you identify those areas for growth, for improvement.
All the time. Okay, so understanding your motivations, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, that's the foundation for effective leadership, according to Cumberland.
And it makes total sense, right? How can you lead others if you don't even fully understand yourself?
Absolutely. Okay, so once we've got that solid foundation, Cumberland moves on to a topic that I think a lot of aspiring leaders struggle with, which is how to actually lead. How to influence people without relying on authority or position.
Oh, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I mean, because let's be real, no one likes to be bossed around.
No, absolutely not. So how do you get people to willingly follow your lead?
Right.
I remember him saying something like, leadership is about influence, not authority.
What's so interesting is that he doesn't just throw out that statement and leave us hanging.
Right.
He gives us practical tools to actually cultivate that influence.
Like that idea of writing your vision statement as a compelling job ad.
I know, brilliant.
I thought so too.
If you can create a vision so captivating that people would be lining up to work on your team,
Yeah.
you're on the right track.
I love that visual.
Yeah.
But how do you actually translate that into action? What are those ingredients of a truly compelling vision?
Well, he suggests asking yourself some key questions. What problem are you trying to solve?
Okay.
What positive impact will your vision have? What's that emotional hook that will resonate with people?
He's really pushing us to think beyond just like the tasks and responsibilities and tap into something much deeper, something more meaningful.
I think that's where the real power of leadership lies, isn't it?
Absolutely.
People are naturally drawn to leaders who are passionate, purpose-driven, and who inspire them to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
So it's not just about having a great idea, but about communicating that idea in a way that resonates with people on an emotional level.
Precisely. It's about painting that picture of the future
Yes.
that people can get excited about and want to be a part of.
And that's what separates the truly great leaders
Yeah.
from the average ones.
Yeah.
It's that ability to inspire and motivate people to achieve something extraordinary.
Absolutely. And there's another area where Cumberland's advice really hits home for me: delivering difficult messages. It's something that all leaders have to face at some point. Let's be honest, it's never fun.
No.
Yeah.
I'm cringing just thinking about it.
Yeah,
But I bet he has some good tips to make those tough conversations a little less painful.
he does. First and foremost, he emphasizes being direct, being transparent, no sugarcoating, no beating around the bush.
So just rip off the Band-Aid.
Exact.
Get it out there.
Delaying the inevitable only makes things worse. And whenever possible, he recommends having those difficult conversations in person.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about showing respect
Right.
for the other person and creating that space for some open dialogue.
Absolutely. He also talks about being mindful of your body language and your tone of voice.
Ooh, yes. I've definitely been on the receiving end of bad news delivered with a scowl and a condescending tone. It doesn't exactly make you feel heard or respected.
No, not at all. Cumberland stresses the importance of conveying empathy, even when you're delivering news that might be upsetting or disappointing.
It's finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being firm, being direct, but also compassionate and understanding.
He actually suggests using phrases like, "I hear you," or "I understand this is difficult," to acknowledge the other person's feelings.
Yeah.
Create a sense of connection.
Those little things can make a huge difference.
They really can. And, Cumberland doesn't shy away from the fact that delivering bad news can be emotionally draining,
Oh, for sure.
even for the most seasoned leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's his advice for, handling those tough situations? How do we take care of ourselves?
Well, he encourages leaders to take care of themselves, both physically and emotionally, getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly.
All those things that help us manage stress and stay resilient.
Exactly. And remember, even the most successful leaders, they make mistakes. It's how you handle those setbacks that really matters.
That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, nobody enjoys failing.
Mm.
But it seems like Cumberland has a different perspective on it.
He does. He actually argues that failure is an essential part of growth, especially in today's world. He says, instead of fearing failure,
Embrace it.
embrace it, exactly, as a learning opportunity.
So it's not about avoiding mistakes at all costs, but using those mistakes to learn and grow.
He suggests keeping a failure log
Wow.
to track your setbacks and the lessons that you've learned.
That's really interesting. It's almost like he's giving us permission to fail, not in a reckless way, but in a way that recognizes setbacks are a natural part of the journey.
It's about shifting your mindset from seeing failure as this negative thing to seeing it as a valuable stepping stone.
I love that. I think that's something that a lot of aspiring leaders really need to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, because let's be honest, nobody's perfect and everyone makes mistakes. It's what you do with those mistakes that defines you as a leader. So true. Okay, we've talked about self-awareness, leading through influence, delivering tough news, and even embracing failure. What else does Cumberland have in store for us?
Oh, there's so much more. He dives into intuition, motivation, authenticity, a whole host of other leadership gems.
I am ready to dig in.
Me too.
Shall we?
Let's do it. Let's keep exploring 100 things successful leaders do.
Sounds good. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into 100 things successful leaders do by Nigel Cumberland.
Yeah, we've covered some pretty powerful ground already. I'm feeling super inspired. And to be honest, maybe a little overwhelmed. There's just so much to unpack when it comes to leadership.
It's true, leadership is multifaceted, but Cumberland's book, it's about providing that practical advice, right? Not adding pressure.
Right.
This deep dive, it's just about giving you a taste of what's possible.
That's a good point. So where do we go from here? What other leadership gems has Cumberland unearthed for us? Well, we were talking about failure, right, and how it can be a valuable learning experience. That actually ties in nicely with his thoughts on intuition.
Okay.
Cumberland believes that successful leaders, they learn to trust their gut feelings.
Wait, so it's not all about data and spreadsheets.
Right.
There's room for feelings in leadership.
There is. It's not about throwing logic out the window, but it's about recognizing that intuition can be a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Especially when combined with rational thought.
So it's not just what your head's telling you, but also what your gut is saying. Like, it's those moments when you just have a really strong feeling about something, but maybe you can't explain why.
Exactly. Cumberland describes it as the heart agreeing with the head. It's about paying attention to those little physical cues you get, those gut feelings that something is right. or maybe something's wrong.
I definitely had those.
Yeah.
And sometimes I ignored them and then really regretted it.
Oh, yeah.
Like one time I almost invested in this company that seemed so promising on paper, but something felt off. Turns out my intuition was right. The company actually ended up going bankrupt.
Cumberland would say you were tuned into those subtle signals. He encourages us to pause, reflect on our feelings before we make those big decisions. Don't just dismiss those gut instincts as irrational, you know?
So find that balance between the logic and intuition. And to be honest, I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with in our fast-paced world. We're so used to making decisions quickly based on data and analysis that we forget to just listen to our inner voice.
Yeah, his advice is a good reminder to slow down, tune in, and trust yourself. Sometimes the best decisions, they really come from a place of deep knowing, intuition.
This is incredibly eye-opening so far. We've covered self-awareness, the power of influence, navigating those difficult conversations, embracing failure, and now trusting our intuition.
Right.
But what about motivating others? That feels like a whole other beast.
It is. It is a complex challenge. And as you might expect, Cumberland doesn't offer any simple solutions or quick fixes.
Okay.
He acknowledges that motivating a team requires a deep understanding of individual needs and drivers.
You're saying there's no magic formula?
I wish. Unfortunately not. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
And that's where those leadership skills we talked about, like self-awareness and communication, really come into play.
He's big on creating that positive work environment,
Right.
making people feel valued and respected.
That's key to his approach. He believes that people are much more likely to be motivated when they feel like they're part of something meaningful, something bigger than themselves.
So it's not just about handing out bonuses or perks, but really about creating a culture where people feel connected to the work they're doing, to the team.
That's it. He talks about fostering a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. He encourages leaders to actually get to know their team members on a personal level, to understand their aspirations, what makes them tick.
So active listening and empathy, those play a huge role in motivation too.
Absolutely. And, you know, when you create that kind of supportive and encouraging environment, it just naturally fosters a sense of trust and mutual respect.
Which kind of brings us to another essential leadership quality, authenticity.
Yes.
I remember Cumberland emphasizing the importance of leading with your true self.
He does. He believes that people can just spot a fake a mile away. To be a truly effective leader, you have to be genuine, true to your values.
Walking the talk.
Right.
Not just saying the right things, but actually embodying the values you want your team to embrace.
That's it. And that starts with self-reflection. Cumberland encourages us to take the time to really understand who we are at our core, what we stand for, and what kind of leader we want to be.
It's about identifying those moments when you feel maybe uncomfortable or you know something's wrong. Those are the times when your values are truly being tested.
And he argues that you should never compromise your integrity, even if it means walking away from a situation.
It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in, especially when it might mean going against the grain.
He's not advocating for being reckless or confrontational, but he believes that true leadership, it really requires that strong moral compass.
So how do you cultivate that kind of authenticity? I mean, it's not like you can just wake up one morning and decide, I'm going to be a more authentic leader.
Right. He suggests starting with small, everyday actions. Be honest in your communication. Admit when you don't have all the answers, and be willing to show vulnerability.
That can be tough, especially for people who are used to putting on that leader persona.
It's about letting go of that need to be perfect. Embrace the fact that we're all human, flaws and all.
I love that. Being real,
Yeah.
being relatable, being human.
And you know, when you lead with that kind of authenticity, it creates a ripple effect. It inspires others to be more genuine and authentic as well.
It's about creating that culture of trust and transparency, where people feel safe to be themselves and to share their ideas and their perspectives.
That's what it's all about. Creating a work environment where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to do their best work.
This is all so inspiring, but I'm starting to wonder how I can possibly remember all of this. There are so many nuggets of wisdom in this book.
I think that's the beauty of these deep dives. You don't have to remember everything. Just pick one or two things that resonate with you and start putting them into practice.
That's good advice. I think I'm going to revisit that idea of creating a personal board of directors, for feedback.
Yeah.
That really struck a chord with me.
I love that. I'm personally drawn to that concept of trusting my intuition more. I think that's something I can definitely work on.
Me too. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from self-awareness to motivation to authenticity, Cumberland's book is packed with advice for aspiring leaders like you.
And we're not done yet. We still have so much more to explore, including how to navigate that ever-changing technological landscape, the importance of customer focus, and even that difficult decision of knowing when to step down as a leader.
This is getting good. I can't wait to hear what else Cumberland has in store for us.
Me neither. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into 100 things successful leaders do.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into 100 things successful leaders do.
We've covered so much ground already, everything from the importance of self-awareness and authenticity to the power of embracing failure and trusting your gut.
It's been incredible. But as you mentioned, there's still more to explore in Cumberland's book. What other leadership gems has he unearthed for us?
Well, we were just talking about authenticity, and that actually leads into his emphasis on customer focus. Cumberland believes that successful leaders always put the customer first.
It sounds pretty straightforward, but I think it's probably a lot trickier than it seems, especially if you're not in like a customer-facing role. How do you even prioritize the customer if you're not interacting with them every day?
Well, Cumberland reminds us that we all have customers, even within our organizations, your colleagues, departments, even your boss. Oh, yeah.
They can all be considered internal customers.
That's a great point. We all rely on each other to get things done. We all have people that depend on us.
Exactly. So putting the customer first, whether they're internal or external, means understanding their needs, exceeding their expectations, and building strong relationships based on trust and respect.
I remember Cumberland suggesting that we actually go out and spend time with our customers, observe how they use our products, our services, and really get to know them.
Yeah, it's about going beyond those surveys and data reports.
Right.
It's about experiencing that customer journey firsthand.
See things from their perspective.
Exactly.
Love that idea. It's like putting yourself in their shoes.
Right.
Really understanding what makes them tick.
And when you take the time to truly understand your customers, you can spark all sorts of new innovation, creativity.
Yeah, you're more likely to come up with solutions that meet their needs if you understand what those needs are. Exactly. Cumberland, he encourages leaders to think like their customer, anticipate their needs, and find those solutions that go above and beyond.
I think he also has some fascinating insights on the power of language. I remember him emphasizing choosing your words carefully.
Words have incredible power, right?
Yeah.
They can motivate, inspire, build trust, but they can also damage relationships and create a lot of unnecessary conflict.
So being mindful of your tone,
Yeah.
avoiding negativity or criticism, and really thinking before you speak.
And being honest about your limitations. He cautions against making promises that you can't keep. Transparency, authenticity, those are key.
So it's not just about saying the right things, but being genuine in your communication.
Exactly. And speaking of authenticity, Cumberland also has some really insightful advice on how to navigate the ever-changing technological landscape. He argues that technology can be a really powerful tool, but it's important to use it wisely, ethically.
That's a topic that honestly feels a bit overwhelming to me. Technology is advancing so rapidly, it's hard to even keep up.
I know what you mean. But Cumberland, he encourages us to stay informed about those developments, experiment with new tools, and be open to the possibilities.
So it's not about being a tech expert, but just being open to learning and adapting as technology evolves.
Right. And he emphasizes using it responsibly. It's not about blindly adopting every new gadget or platform.
Right.
It's about understanding the implications, right? And using technology to enhance your leadership, not replace it.
That's a good point. I mean, technology can be great for connecting with people, sharing information, streamlining things, but it's just a tool. It's up to us as leaders to use it in a way that serves our teams and our organizations.
Absolutely. And even with the best technology, there will be times when we need to rely on our good old-fashioned negotiation skills.
Negotiation, he talks about that as a key leadership skill, right?
He does. He believes that successful leaders, they are skilled negotiators, both in those formal settings and in everyday interactions.
So what are some of his key insights when it comes to negotiation?
Well, he really emphasizes active listening, finding common ground, and maintaining a positive, collaborative approach.
So seeing negotiation as a process of problem solving rather than a battle to be won.
Exactly. Working together to find that solution that benefits everyone involved.
Sometimes, even with the best negotiation skills, you might find yourself in a situation where it's best to walk away. I remember Cumberland talking about the possibility of resigning for your beliefs.
It's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
Having the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means sacrificing your career.
It's about knowing your non-negotiables, those values and principles that you're just not willing to compromise on no matter what.
Right.
And that leads us to our final topic for today, knowing when to step down as a leader. This can be a really difficult decision for a lot of people.
It can be hard to let go, especially when you poured your heart and soul into building something.
Absolutely.
Cumberland acknowledges that. But he also emphasizes recognizing when it's time to move on.
So what are some of those signs? How do you know when it's time to step down?
He suggests asking yourself some key questions. Are you still passionate about the work?
Okay.
Are you making a positive impact? Are there maybe other opportunities that might be a better fit?
It's about having that self-awareness, right?
Yes.
To recognize when you're no longer the best person for the job or when it's time for someone else to take the reins.
And when you do decide to step down, Cumberland stresses the importance of leaving gracefully. Plan your departure, prepare your successor, ensure a smooth transition.
Leaving a positive legacy.
Exactly.
And continuing to lead in new and different ways.
That's really the essence of his message. Leadership, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about continuous learning, growth, making a positive impact on the world.
100 Things Successful Leaders Do is a must-read. It's practical advice, inspiring stories, and thought-provoking insights, all to help you on your leadership journey.
Leadership isn't just about titles or positions. It's about the choices you make every day, the values you embody, the impact you have on the people around you.
So as you go about your day, I want you to ask yourself, which of Cumberland's lessons resonated most with you? And how can you put those lessons into action to make a difference in your life and the world? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 100 Things Successful Leaders Do.
It's been a pleasure.